YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to my review for Power Rangers Infinity, which is a one-shot Power Rangers comic that they released. They announced it a while ago, and initially it kind of elicited a WTF reaction just because it looks so out there, and they talked about how, I don't know if they exactly said it was going to tie into Darkest Hour, but they kind of alluded it was connected in some way, at least that I remember. And I'm like, this is just a very strange announcement, which got even stranger when they announced the main run was coming to an end, and we were kind of in limbo before we knew it was going to continue. It was just strange. So I would say I was more curious than anything about this. I wouldn't say I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited, but I was definitely curious what it was going to be. Then when they dropped those preview pages that showed off these really cool, like, Elseworlds, Multiverse Rangers that were really creative, I actually got kind of excited for this because I love to see different comic designs and stuff like that. And so I was actually pretty stoked for this. And I have to say, this really surprised me. It wasn't the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It wasn't like an essential thing for the story. It's not really tied to Darkest Hour at all, but I think it was surprisingly creative and charming. I really enjoyed it. The only reason it's kind of tied, not to Darkest Hour, but to the comic is because it's kind of meta, is you have this main plot around the character. I think it's Lola is her name, is the main character. She kind of exists in a world like ours where Power Rangers is a franchise, and she's going to meet somebody that's involved with the Power Rangers comic, and the creator, whoever she's talking to, even mentions like the Power Rangers comic came to an end. So it's obvious why this is coming out now, because it's after the main run has come to an end. And just so we're clear, if you didn't know, there is going to be a new main comic called Power Rangers Prime, I think it was Prime, in November. So anyway, though, it was a little bit meta with that. So you have her going to show off some of her work, and they talk a lot about power cycles, and it's kind of, this thing's meta all around, and I like a good meta story. I mean, it's meta because it's in a world, or at least her world is a world where Power Rangers is a franchise, but it's also meta in that it talks about the different themes of Rangers, you know, animals, dinosaurs, vehicles, all that stuff, and it talks about power cycles, and she shows these drawings to this lady that are kind of what you normally see, like anybody can draw a Vehicle Sentai, or a Power Rangers, or a Dino 1, or whatever. And, you know, we see that all the time in Sentai and PR, just going back to some of the same themes and vehicles and dinosaurs and all that stuff. And she says, yeah, these are fine, but, like, anybody can do these. I want to see something different. And it kind of is about her discovering her confidence to show off what her actual design is. And there's a lot of heartwarming elements to it. And mixed up with that is Poisandra, who's the main villain of this, which I wasn't that stoked about that because I really can't stand Poisandra. This is probably the most I've tolerated her just because you don't have the annoying performance to go into it because you're reading it. But it kind of worked for this because her shenanigans make sense for this story. And effectively what she's doing is she's going around and using this machine, this, like, I guess, Ranger system creator or power cycle creator to generate Ranger teams so she can find one that's terrible enough to defeat. And that's how you wind up getting all these random teams, which I think was fun. Like, I'm kind of two minds. On one hand, I kind of wish those teams just existed out there normally because I think that's cool. I like seeing these outside of the box designs, but also it's kind of a fun and creative way to explain why these are so off the wall. And I have some really fun ones. I mean, the night ones I think are super cool. I thought the exercise ones were fun. I think I said before, my favorite thing about the exercise ones is their little Alphabot being like, I think it was like a speed bag. So they're just really fun designs. Like, if PR was a big enough property to do figures for like everything like Marvel and Star Wars, I would love like figures of a ton of these. It was just really fun to see the creativity of it. And that was another aspect of that. I think part of this was kind of a misfit story. Part of it was kind of about your confidence and the courage to share your dreams and your creativity. And I think that tied in not only Lola's story, but like the people that made this getting to share these really creative and fun designs that were just a ton of fun. And the team we follow, the Infinity team, is kind of all these remnants of the survivors of when Poisandra creates and then wipes out these teams. And they kind of form a misfit group, the ones we've seen in the posters and stuff. I think my favorites are, I think the Polar Bear Ranger is just a lot of fun, but also the little pirate guy, just because I didn't know he was short at first, and then it just immediately took me back to the comic accurate height Wolverine from Deadpool and Wolverine, which was just funny. But it's a fun little group, and it creates this kind of misfit story and bond between the characters when they defeat Poisandra. And then unfortunately, when they defeat her, they all get erased and are kind of erased from existence, and that ends to the meta ending where she does finally share her creation, like her unique creation with this artist, and then eventually it leads to her making the Power Rangers Infinite comic, which is this misfit team, so that her friends will forever be remembered in comic form, kind of existing forever. And I thought that was really nice. Like, honestly, it was just a fun story. As soon as we saw the crazy different multiversal variant teams, I knew that I was going to have fun with this just because I like getting to see like what these type of designs would be like. But just the story in general was a lot of fun, really creative. I think it had some really nice, like, heartwarming messages about creativity and, you know, being being yourself and all that stuff sounds really cheesy, but I thought it was very well done. And like the sentiment of that team living on forever by actually making the comic, like the comic we're reading in a way. Again, I love a good meta story. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. Again, this isn't going to be an essential missing piece to Darkest Hour. It's not going to resolve anything. But if this sounds, fun to you, if it sounded fun to you at all, I definitely recommend checking it out. I think it's just a fun little one-off that I'm really glad they did. I think it was just really nice. And it is interesting to have this made because, it's not really tied so much to MMPR like a lot of their stuff is. It's a lot more, in a lot of ways, very inside baseball with a lot of references they make with like, oh, when was the last time Poisandre was seen? And they're like, actually, it was Beast Morphers, not Dino Fury. And I don't know, like, it's interesting just because I talk a lot about how I don't think like if we were to pick up a series based on another season other than MMPR, it would do well. But we do get one-shots and stuff like this. But this is kind of one of the most out there ones with some of the more like inside references. But yeah, definitely recommend checking this out. It was surprisingly like heartwarming and very creative. But that's about it for this one, guys. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.